Hey guys, welcome back to finally another episode of Hey Balla. I have a question. The Q&A show where you guys, viewers, chat, everybody submits questions in the form of a voice prompt that I will answer and we'll talk about and try to, figure out exactly what you're getting into, and we try to help. So specifically about improving at competitive Fortnite, today we have a bunch of questions that I really like. We have questions on movement, we have questions on squad troubles, we have questions on positioning, a bunch of different things. So that's cool. In other news, we hit 30K followers on Twitch yesterday, which was really awesome. So thanks to everybody. You guys are nuts. The growth is ridiculous. And yeah, if you are on YouTube, in order to submit a question, you go down in the description below. If you're on Twitch, type ! Hey Balla in the chat and you'll be directed to either the Google form or you can join the Discord and get any information and updates in the Discord. So make sure you do that if you want to be featured in the next episode. I pick the questions ahead of time. Sometimes I think about them, sometimes I don't. Today I was a little late, so I didn't really think about them too much except for the first one. So we'll go from there. Regardless, if everybody's ready, why don't we dive into that first question?
Now that's one question. I also have another question. It's regarding movement in Fortnite. This was mainly from watching a lot of Bugha and seeing how he moves in box fights, and it's just amazing. And even when he PGs, for example, he just has so much momentum, even though his binds are far from optimal. So how would you say one can improve their movement? Thank you.
Cool. Abdulli, multiple time submissions. So thank you for that. And thank you for continuing to submit. I appreciate it. This question's about movement, and it's actually a hot topic for me, something that I've been thinking about a lot, not only since we started watching some of the controller players that we've watched, since we've been watching Bugha, for example, even Benji, we've come up with ideas and themes of movement as a solo player, as a squad player, as pretty much everything. And this involves, movement in endgame, movement in box fights, movement in your tunnels, movement through edits, all these different things. So it's a big part of the game and probably one of the most overlooked part of everybody's games. And that's because movement is kind of weird in Fortnite, right? The movement is not terrible by any means, but you don't have too much control. You don't have as much control as like a game like Counter-Strike or a game like Quake, where there's really sick movement options. But still, the movement is not bad by any means. There's still things you can do with it. A lot of those things that people will think of when they think of, oh, what's good movement in Fortnite? They think of death runs. They think, oh, yeah, you have to make your jumps. Or, you have to dodge traps, those sorts of things. But when you really think about it, especially when we talk about Bugha, it's not movement. It's not death running movement. It's not anything like that. It's movement in the peaks, right? Movement in the right shoulder peaks, movement away from people, movement through edits. Those are the kinds of things that we're really, really interested in. So not the death running stuff. Not that that's not valuable, but that's what I think of when I think of movement in Fortnite. In reality, the best movement is the basic stuff. So you're not really going to notice it too much. And it's really hard actually to notice good movement when you're watching a VOD, when you're watching Bugha, right? The first thing you're going to notice is, oh, that's a cool edit, right? That's probably medium difficulty to notice. Or, oh, that's a cool retake. That's a cool build technique. Those are the things that we notice as Fortnite players when we watch VODs. But it's there, right? Just like Abdulli has noticed, Bugha has really good movement. So how do I replicate that? And Abdul, you're on the right path already, right? You're watching a VOD, you're watching a player, you're watching a pro player, and you've decided, hey, he has good movement. The only thing you need to get to is why. Why does he have good movement? So, yeah. So let's compare. I'd say the first step is to compare your movement, watch your movement, and then watch Bugha, right? Compare how he's moving while he's tunneling. Compare how he's moving while he's rotating, right? Just in the open, just jumping. So just jump while pickaxing, for example. Like, is he, strafing a certain way? Is he doing anything weird? While peeking, right? So when you do a certain peek, when you make for example, the one example of, you edit the top right corner of your wall and do the jump peek to get not only the right shoulder peek, but also the head peek. Look at that. Compare yours to Booga. Is Booga's different? Does he get close to the wall? Does he get to the apex of his jump before his head goes over? Is he peeking on the correct, width of the wall, right? Is he in the same spot as you? Look at those things, because those are important. Those are movement elements that will help. So while peeking is a good one, another one, at the top of a ramp, if we think of a different peak, at the top of a ramp, if you're peeking somebody below you, right? The best and the optimal peak is to, uncrouch, shoot, recrouch, and turn your camera down the ramp. We've seen Mongrel be very, very good at that from the beginning days of competitive Fortnite, or not even competitive Fortnite, just pubs in general, right? So those are things you can notice. Those are things that you have to be looking at. Those are difficult to notice, like really, really, really difficult. But I'd say, yeah, you're on the right path. VOD review is probably the best way to see new movement technique. Other ways you could do, I wouldn't say that there's really any. Does a movement course exist? Everybody's gonna say death run, but is that really a movement course? Compare a movement course to, an edit course in terms of training, right? Like make an edit course for movement. I think that'd be cool. I don't think anybody's done that. So challenge to all the creative heads in the channel, or anybody who watches this, or if you're fans of those guys like Zero Hero or something like that, or Raider, hey, can you make a movement course for me? And these things would be useful things, right? Going through windows, right? Going through edits, hard jumps that you actually always are trying to hit, like side jumps, right? We have those in the edit courses, but yeah. What else can we talk about? Improvement on movement, chat. You guys can help me with this. I think probably the biggest tip in terms of movement is it's your camera. Most of the time in Fortnite, it's your camera that has to do with the movement rather than anything that you can do, right? So somebody in chat saying right peaks, right? But so think about the follow-ups to right peaks. It's oftentimes your camera, right? You peak, and then when you want to move away, when you want to make an escape outside of a box, when you want to get, we saw in the Unknown Army VOD review yesterday, right? When you want to make an escape and back up and get a whole box in between you and your opponent, it's really, really good to actually turn your camera, and you will move faster that way. That's what the best players are doing. Somebody in chat says, change your binds. This is a really, really, really good one. Really, really, really good one. Because you pointed out, Booga has suboptimal binds. So here's what I'm going to say about binds, right? If you have movement issues, and we'll talk about how to identify your actual movements, I think, or your issues, I think. But if you have those issues, if you can identify them and you cannot fix them just by going faster or repeating the movement until you can get it, until you can get the finger dexterity and flexibility that you need to fix that issue, you probably need to change your bind, right? That's going to be different from person to person. I see all these videos about, how to find the optimal binds. Here's the optimal binds are ones where you're going to be able to have your fingers free. Okay, sure, yeah, 100%. That makes sense. Technically that makes sense, but it's going to be different for everyone because Booga does not have optimal binds and he still has good movement, right? He still has good movement. Thwifo, Mitro use F keys and they still have good movement. So you can do it without it, but just think about your own limitations. Don't think about anybody else's. Don't think about why, the fact that it's Jarian, and no, credit to him because that video is awesome on binds. Just because he said that, yeah, you want these fingers free so that you can move, or these keys free. Yes, technically that makes sense, but you can still make do because these guys have proven it. So, how to identify your movement issues. I think this is going to come from repetition, right? This is coming from, practicing all the things and seeing, oh, wow, I'm not actually as fast as as Booga. I'm not actually as fast as Mongrel, right? The classic example I'll use is diagonal tunnel, right? Do the Mongrel tunnel, diagonal tunnel, where you're blocking all the walls, right? And you're editing through them, okay? And do that while moving diagonally straight through your tunnel. Don't go left, don't go right, don't do any of that crap. Don't hit the walls, just move diagonally through. That's how Mongrel does it. So why can't you? Okay, so try to fix that. That's probably an issue that most people deal with, right? So practice those things, practice tunneling, but don't practice like a single thing, right? Same thing that I said yesterday, actually, during the Unknown Army VOD review, is don't practice like just 190 type. Not even like a 90 type, but 90, and then do your ramp and cone, right? It's the same thing. Don't just do that. Make sure you're breaking it up, break up the combinations, right? And then on top of that, practice combinations of things. So variety of things in terms of movements, like tunnel diagonally and move diagonally. Tunnel diagonally and move straight, and then right. Do the opposite, right? Tunnel straight and jump while you're doing it. Tunnel straight and don't jump. All these different things, like go through the variety. Just because it's easy does not mean you shouldn't be still doing it. Because again, when we practice, especially in creative, we're not going to be doing these things consistently, right? We're going to be combining all sorts of different elements. We're going to be combining straight tunnel. We're going to be combining diagonal tunnel. We're going to be combining jumping and not, right? Just because you have to be focused on different things. So practice a combination of variety and practice like actual things. And then the last tip I think we can talk about is stop jumping. When we talk about movement, we want to be able to jump, but like the most of the bad creative, or at least the creative players that have bad movement, is because they jump too much. And you know what happens actually is jumping is a symptom of bad movement in certain cases, right? Obviously jumping, you need to jump for certain things. But when I watch a creative player who has bad movement or has bad building, right? They compensate by jumping, which ruins their movement in turn, right? So don't jump for every little thing. And notice the spots when jumping is you compensating for having bad binds, for example. I think the best example or I can think back of to this is Cypher PK, actually. He was saying he thought a lot about his binds. I think there's actually a video out there, probably one of his series, which are awesome, by the way, where he breaks down why he changed his binds from his normal ones to his other ones. And oftentimes you'll see he'll say, hey, I couldn't move diagonally while I was doing this specific build or this specific edit. And in order to fix that, I was jumping. And not only is that slowing me down, not only is that wasting a jump, that is covering up something that would actually be better for me to do, right? So when you see yourself jumping, ask yourself, is this a valuable thing in certain builds, especially in creative, okay? It makes you predictable, like Snowy says in chat, really awesome. So yeah, stop jumping, maybe. Think specifically about jumping, but anyways, I think we're good on this question. So thank you, Abdulia, for submitting. We'll move on to the next one.
Hey Balla, I feel like I have good ways for my squad to improve to the next level and ways we can become a notable team, but I feel like they do not value my opinion. I'm really considering leaving the squad, but I want to know if there's anything I can do to make sure my teammates listen to me in this squad or even other squads I play with in the future.
Cool. I was like, I don't know why the question ended too abruptly for me. I was like, is there more? Do I show the text? Cool. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate that. So this question is really good. I love that. Speedy says, what was the question? I wasn't listening. Bro, it's on the, come on, Speedy. Are you just listening? No, we're just kidding. So basically the question was, I have ideas on what we can do as a squad to get better. And I feel like my squad is not listening to me. So what can I do? Right? What can I do? What can he do? Right? So I think this is, and a lot of questions when we talk about squads and trios and stuff like that, when we talk about in teams, it is actually like more of a relationship question than anything else. I'd say you have to think about yourself, right? Are you being assertive enough? Are you being convincing enough? Are you correct? Right? Are you correct? Like, people are not going to listen to you if some of those things are not true, right? Assertiveness is important as a player, as an IGL, just everything, right? Because that's how you are going to gain trust from people. You need to be able to say something and have somebody be like, oh, okay, my guy is speaking. Like, we got to listen to this, right? You have to be right. For most teams to listen to you have to be right? You can't be suggesting something that's not good, unless for some reason you haven't tested it and you don't really know if it's good or not. So those are things that you should definitely think about, but also think about how you are approaching these conversations. And I assume you're having conversations, but that would be an issue in and of itself. Is when are these conversations happening? Are they happening in game? Right? If they're happening in game, we have a whole different problem here, right? Where you are suggesting something and it's not getting listened to, and it might be the right idea, but the IGL or whatever is not taking it, and that sucks. Oh, that is loud. My bad. Give me a second here. Okay, got it. Cool. Little message. So, yeah. What were we talking about? We're talking about basically getting your squad to listen to, right? In game. We were talking about in game. In game. If you are suggesting something and your IGL is not even acknowledging you, that's unfortunate. And you need to talk to your IGL about, hey, man, like, I'm not sure if like my ideas are bad. This is how you should approach it, right? That conversation should always don't be blaming. Don't be saying, hey, man, you never listen to me. Like that, sure, that is a very direct and straightforward way to handle it. And if you're comfortable with that, go for it. But in my mind, I always like to try to take the blame away from things and suggest like, I don't necessarily like to put it on myself. So let's try to think of a way to frame this where you're saying, hey, IGL, please, I'm making suggestions. So I think a way to do that would be like, hey man, when we were on height, let's think. There's definitely ways to do it, and obviously you can't do that in the moment. You shouldn't waste time doing it. So basically be like, hey, did you hear my suggestion about moving this way? Do you think that was right? Do you think that was correct? Or do you think that what we did was correct? Right? That's a good way to kind of frame it. So think about framing. That will help. That will help people feel less attacked when you suggest something like you're not listening to me. Right? That's good. And that helps the conversation. That helps them actually sit down and take a second to think about it. But let's move out of game now. And this is where I think like if you aren't having these conversations out of game, you need to be having them, whether it's with everybody together or individually, right? Go to your IGL, go to somebody else and be like, hey, like, why aren't we doing this practice suggestion I suggested? And talk it out, right? Just talk it out. Talk. It's one of the most valuable things you can do is talk. And you'll fix this issue for sure. One thing I really like about this question is at the end, he kind of said like, I want to know if I can fix this issue with my teammates or if I should leave or if I should, or no, he basically asked that. And he also said, if I leave, he didn't say this directly, but he said, if I leave, I want to make sure this doesn't happen again in my next squad. And let's talk that for a second because it could happen in the next squad. Sometimes you're going to find people that are just not listeners. They're not people who are easy to agree with. They're not people who will do that. So sometimes that's the way it's going to be. It might be that way for this team, right? You might try to have these conversations out of game. You might try to have these conversations one-on-one with people, but they just shut them down. They're like, hey man, I don't really need to care what you're saying right now. And to me, that would be a sign of misaligned goals. That would definitely be a sign of misaligned goals where your teammates don't have the same goals. They don't have the same ideals of you. They don't have the same passion for the game that you do, or passion for what they're doing that you do. And that is an issue. We talked about it in an early episode of Hey Balla, I Have a Question. You need to be on the same page in terms of goals. You really need to, because otherwise situations like this are going to come up. I don't know what you're suggesting. I don't know what they're not listening to, for example. It could be, a rotation. It could be practice method. It should be what we should be playing. It should be, it could be any of these things, which makes it a little bit harder. But like, for example, if, hey, guys, like we should be practicing box fights. Like when we're out of a scrim, let's practice 2v2 box fight. If there's no scrims going on, let's do 2v2 box fights. Like, let's play Zone Wars, 2v2 Zone Wars, or whatever. Like, it could be one of those. And in that case, it's like, do they not see the value in it? You have to convince them of the value of it. Or they don't want to practice outside of whatever you guys are doing to practice, right? It could be that they're only playing tournaments. I don't know. Basically, convince them that it has value. If you are convincing enough and they're still not listening to you, then you have a problem and you should probably find a new squad. Simple as that, right? If you are having a conversation and you literally feel like they did not try to convince you that you were wrong in this whole argument, they didn't do that at all, and they're just not listening to you, find a new squad. Find a new squad. Like, absolutely find a new squad. And in the next squad, it might be the same. It might not be, but you do your best. And if it's your best and you're comfortable saying it's your best, convincing these guys, then yeah, you're done. You try it on the next one. If it's still your best and it's not working again, try it in the next one. If it's still your best and it's still the same, then I don't know, maybe we can have this conversation again. Okay. Moving into the next question. I see a lot of people asking why this guy's asking about squads. You guys have no clue what the next one is going to be, so don't assume. I'd say it's like you guys are assuming a lot about what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Don't ask me. I don't know, but squads is still relevant. Team games are going to still be relevant, right? Duos, trios, squads. It's going to be a team mode at least. It might be solos, but if it's solos, maybe they stick with it, maybe they don't. I don't know, but we don't know is the whole thing. So. Regardless, also, this question was probably submitted way earlier. So I didn't get to it till now. Feels bad, but oops. I spoiled the question. How dare I? Here's the next question.
Balla, me and my team over the past few days have been arguing whether we should play the solo cash cups or use that time for squad scrims. So yeah, I don't know what to do.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the submission, Alba. And again, we're talking about squads, but this is going to be an issue later on. So don't just discount this question because, it's about squads. So his team and him, presumably during the time when squads was still active, were deciding, do I play solo cash cups or do I practice for squads? So I'm going to say straight up, unless you guys don't care about solos at all, if you guys do not care about solos at all, if you guys don't want to play solos, if you guys are literally not solo players and you never will be, I think that is the only time where you should, play squad scrims. If you guys all literally, and I don't think that's ever going to happen for a Fortnite player, if you guys don't care about solos, if you guys don't enjoy solos to the point where it's like, I can't play this ever, or I won't play this ever. If I enjoy squads so much that I will never play solos, then yeah. Okay, go play squad scrims. Even in that case, I would still kind of suggest to play solos. Even if you have that hatred, even if you have that non-enjoyable, or you love squads so much, even if that was the case, or this was duos or whatever we're talking about. Everybody in chat saying it's opportunity for cash, but nah. Get that out of here. It's not about cash. To me, it is tournament experience. It is match experience that is more valuable than any sort of game time you are ever going to have. Way more valuable than anything else. Way more valuable than arena. Way more valuable than prac for best scrims ever, right? It's so much better. Like, no matter what, no matter how crap the games are, no matter how many people are in the last zone, no matter how easy it is to W key, it is still the most valuable because it is real damn match experience. Real. It is real match experience that you cannot get anywhere else. You can't get that from scrims. You can't get that from anywhere, right? Because it's all of a sudden a different thing. You are playing the real thing. You are not practicing. You can't be practicing your movement, right? In the tournament. You are literally putting it all on the table. All on the table. So that is why I would suggest to play the solo cash cups, right? And again, it's going to be different for everybody. And also, like I'm going to go back, right, a little bit further and say, remember when I said, hey, if you are so interested in squads that you want to play them, like, sure. If you are literally never, ever, ever going to play solos, then yeah, squads. But the reason I'm is that match experience so good. And there is no match experience for anything but solos during the week. It just doesn't exist unless you're playing, unless you're invited, luckily, to the War Legends tournament in EU or some other tournament, right? There's no match experience for any of the team stuff. There was in trios. And no, guys, no, absolutely not. Friday Squad Cup is not a real tournament. If there's not actually something on the line that you care about, then it's not a real tournament. If there's not, incentive or anything like that. Like I would say T1 leaderboards where you are actually grinding for prac cord, that is real. That is real. That's incentive. That is real. So maybe you're in that case. But the other thing too is you have to think, is your squad ready for whatever what is more important, right? Is your squad ready for the weekend? Is your squad ready to play the tournament, or are you going to be able to make improvements in the practice? Because if not, then you guys need to practice. You need to practice, right? It's different in Fortnite because there's like a schedule of things. You can't like schedule your own. You can't make your own schedule. So things are not available, right? And yeah. So are you ready for it? Can you use more practice? Are you guys cool with more practice? Then go for it. What else? Oh, the other thing is availability of actually practice, right? It's not all the time. Like when solo cash cups are on, squad practice is going to die probably, at least for some portions of the community. Anyways, that's a simple question, and I appreciate it because I think a lot of people are probably asking the question, oh, is it worth it to play these? But I definitely think it's worth it. Match experience is the most valuable thing you can ever have. So thanks for the submission, Abba. And let's continue. Let's continue with the next.
Hey Balla, I have a question. In mid games, where should I try to position myself? And should my position change in different competitive game modes I play?
Cool. That was simple. That was quick. Thank you for the submission, Silence. I just want to go back really quickly. Unrelated to the questions. I just see a lot of false rumors, and you guys need to stop repeating them, stop spamming them, because unknowing people are in chat. They don't know that it's a meme. They don't know that it was fake. They don't know any of this stuff. And people are saying Winter Royale duos. Like, no, all that stuff is fake, guys. I'm sorry. It was all faked. It was literally all faked. So please stop repeating it. Please don't fall for the BS. Look at the damn announcements. Look at the actual facts. So, anyways. In mid games, where should I try to position myself? And should my position change depending on which competitive game modes I am playing? Thoughts? Opinions? I would definitely say that, yes. Let's answer the back part of this first. Like, let's answer the back part of this. Should they change based on the game modes? Yes, 100%. They should change on the game modes, right? They should change whether you're playing duos or squads or solos. Like, absolutely it should. All the concepts still apply in all these different game modes, but you have more spacing in squads. You're able to, stay wider. Same with duos compared to solos, right? Solos, it's way more compact because there's more different unique teams. In squads, you could all base up, differently with the same amount of players, but still be quite spread out, right? So those slight positional differences are there in every mode, right? Shoot, it'll probably depend on even this hasn't actually happened, but LTM modes versus non-LTM modes, arena playlist mode or non-arena playlist, 100%. Then I would say the actual tournament, the actual event that you're playing or the scrim that you're playing or whatever, I think that matters too. I think positioning changes based on, are you playing an early Cash Cup lobby or not, right? Are you playing a late Cash Cup lobby where it's stacked as hell? Positioning definitely changes in all those different things, right? We look at the DreamHack LAN and Moraine's positioning in that. He moved a lot of times so early that he could get into center zone. He could get there so fast that nobody else was able to do anything, and he was able to claim the best spot. Not always the best spot because it's stacked, and other people are doing the same thing as you, but that was a concept, right? There's on the flip of that too, everybody going center so fast means, hey, I'm going to spend some more time on edge. And you'll see players Unknown enjoy doing that in tournaments, right? That's a possibility. So with that said, we basically said, yes, your position should change. Hold on. One more thing about positioning changing. Yeah, it should also change based on the game itself, the circumstances that you see on your rotation. Is there a lot of people behind me? Is there a lot of people next to me? Is there a lot of people, on a hill somewhere, right? Can I approach this hill with all these people up there? No? Okay. Then you probably aren't getting any position that you want to do, right? You're probably going to have to settle for something worse. So that is important for you to think about too, because you're not always going to get the best position. What is the best position? This is also, preference. Mr. Savage likes edge, right? A lot of people like edge. A lot of people like center zone. A lot of people like center zone. So yeah. With that said, center zone always gives you the best chance of being close to the next zone or getting the next zone, right? And there's actually some data posted on Twitter today and last week about probabilities of zone. I think we should all keep that in mind when watching those or when looking at that data. Of course, you have to take it as a whole and not as gospel, because the zones are supposed to be random. But I think there is some small things that are making the distribution not as normal or not as random as it might seem. I don't think it's anything malicious, of course, but we've seen data that's shown, for example, first zone has been favoring the east side, right? So that to me indicates that there's something a little bit slightly not as random, not obviously chosen or anything, but there are definitely things that are programmed, and programming is not random. So let's just leave it at that. So positioning though, center zone or edge, right? You said you land outskirts. I think you did. Maybe it was a different question that I didn't take, but right, if you land outskirt, you have to think about, am I actually going to be able to play edge map here? Edge map is another concept. So just familiarize yourself with these positional concepts of, I'm going to play edge zone, right? Edge map and center zone. Okay. Those are the things that I think will basically be all you really need to know. Then there's other things positions of strength, right? Those are important, like mountaintops, any high ground, any buildings, places you can recycle materials. Those are good positions. So think about those too, besides just where you're positioning yourself in zone. There's those circumstances that the map gives you within the zone. That's important. And then there's end game positioning, right? You want to position yourself edge zone or not, right? Some people like center in 5th or in 4th to get 5th. These are all preference again. They're not, there's no one way positionally to play that will win you the game. Why? Because if there was, everybody would be going for it, and then all of a sudden it wouldn't be the best way to play. That's why center zone is no longer the best, right? It was at some point because everybody was playing edge zone because they weren't thinking about positional motifs. So, end game position, high ground, best, mid ground. Think about the different places and movements you're going through. I think positioning yourself ahead of zone is almost certainly best, unless you're maybe the only person, or maybe only being the only person is something you're comfortable with. I don't know. There's a lot of preferences, and there's a lot of trial and error with positioning, and there's a lot of straight up randomness in positioning too, right? You never know, like, who else is playing in this game. That's why I said it changes based on the circumstances of the game. It could be that everybody in this lobby likes center zone. All of a sudden, center zone's trash. It could be that 4 people landed up in the outskirts of the map and they all decided to converge on the same high ground at the same time, right? All of a sudden, that position is whack. So it all changes. Your preferences change. The way the lobby plays, it's all different. It's all different. All right, let's move into the last question here. Thank you for the submission, Silence. I really appreciate that. We got the last question here from Bly.
Hey Balla, I have a question. Basically,
Hello?
I find it very hard to stick to the same duo partner and just practice him for ages and ages
Hello?
and try and get the best we can.
Bly?
Do you have any tips to how to get to the best we can? And if I should stay with that person or switch up until I find the person with the perfect playstyle and the perfect comms? Thank you.
My man is literally at work. We got a hardworking young man over here. Nah, I messed with the audio of the question, so let me reread it for you guys. He said, I find it very hard to stick to the same duo partner and just practicing forever and trying to get the best we can. Do you have any tips on how we could be the best we can, and if I should stay with that person or switch up until I find the person with the perfect playstyle or perfect comms? So basically, he's asking, should I stick with my duo partner for a long time? And my general answer is going to be yes. Yes, you should stick with the duo partner for a long time if you are improving and if you are achieving your goals. Okay. Yes, you 100% should be. But I think that everybody should experience a wide variety of partners. This sounds really weird, but you should definitely experience a wide variety of duo partners. Let's say that. Duo partners. No, we're not talking about, never mind. You should definitely experience a wide variety of duo partners just because that's going to expose you to the different types of people there are out there, the different types of comms there are out there, the different types of play style there are, right? And if you don't know what's out there, you don't know what actually works with you, okay? You don't know what actually works with you, and you don't know what good chemistry is. So if you're just starting out, I'd say, guys, like, don't stick to a partner. Don't stick to one person. Like, move, switch people. And you're going to not only learn more, not just about what having a duo partner like can be, but also about the game itself. The example I'll use is Bumpa, my old duo partner. Actually said, like, sure, he learned some stuff from me. And then he played with Strugs, who ended up teaching him a lot about, I don't exactly remember about what he said he learned, but he was like, yeah, like, I loved basically Bumpa said, thank you, next. He's like, Strugs, thank you, next, man. You taught me a lot, but let me go ahead and move on to the next so I can learn some more. I could figure out what we're going to be, basically figuring out what the things I need to work personally on as a player, right? Snake season. No, it's not, right? Like, you guys can be amicable about it and be like, hey, man, like, I'd like to, go ahead and try to find somebody different, try to find somebody who maybe works a little bit better with me, or, maybe we can both, God, it sounds exactly like we're trying to date, but It's not dating, so don't take it that way. It's not personal at all. It's a game. Like, literally just try different people and see what works, see what will produce results, because that's how it's going to be. Macwood and Hogman apparently are getting back together, but that might have been bait. Probably bait. Let's be serious. But it's possible. Those things happen. Right? People had disagreements. They break up and then they come back together and say, "Oh, okay, cool." Now they take the experiences from all the different things and they end up being really, really good. So it depends on your situation. It depends. Hey, have you found the combination? I think from what I'm hearing, from the fact that you are submitting this question at all, I'm going to guess you are not happy with the way that it's going, with the rate of improvement. So yeah, go ahead, man. Go try it. Honestly, okay, here's the other thing too, right? Like, when you are in a duo partner, like when you have a tournament or a player that you are playing with for duos, you should not only be playing with that player. Like, that is especially squads. Okay. Especially in squads. Like, you cannot just stick to one squad to play with, because guess what? Then you are not only committing to having to be with their schedule, not only are you not learning other things from other players, not only are you experiencing different situations, different drop spots, you are forcing yourself to be like, okay, I'm dropping this again. We're doing the same thing. Now I'm the rate of improvement for me personally, because I'm playing with one squad, is so far lower. Like, you need to be playing with as many people as you can and learning as many people as you can, because that is going to improve you as a person and end up making whatever duo partner you have, making that relationship better, right? Much better. Much, much, much better. That's something I learned when I was playing Counter-Strike. And I say this all the time, but like, I had a team that I had the best chemistry ever with. But guess what? We we didn't even really practice. We played matches, and that was basically it. But guess what we all did? Like, sure, we played a couple scrims, maybe 2 scrims in a match, and we would dominate everything. We had the best chemistry. We had the best jokes. We had the best banter. We had the best strats, and we didn't really practice seriously those strats, but we were so good because we all played constantly, not just with us, but I was, ringing for all sorts of teams, scrimming with all sorts of teams. And for that reason, not only was I better at controlling my team and calling the shots, but they were all better because, they picked up different weapons here and there. They picked up different roles. They all understood how they actually fit in the grand scheme of things. So, yeah. Hope that helps, Bly. I enjoyed that question, just the way that I took it at the end. So cool. I hope it helps. And I hope you find a new duo partner or find success with your current one. Cool. That's the end. That's 5 questions down. And I don't know how long we've been going. Probably a little longer than I actually expected. No, we're doing good on time. We're about 15 minutes. Cool. If you like that video, wait, no, I don't actually do that outro for this. This is the end. Bye, guys. We love you. Bye-bye.